Hi guys, in this video I'll be sharing with you my top 5 favourite drone moves to make your videos look a lot more cinematic. And I'm going to start right now. So just before we start with this video and talking about cinematic drone moves, let's talk about a couple settings that we can change in our drone to instantly make our videos more cinematic even before we take off. And the first one is all to do with your color profile. Now, a color profile basically is how your drone records color and records video. As default, your drone will be set to either standard or vivid, which is great in most situations, but it doesn't give you much flexibility over exposure or color, which is why I recommend filming in a log profile. A log profile basically allows you to film a greater dynamic range when it comes to exposure, but it also is a flatter profile, so it allows you to color grade in post-production. Now, if your drone doesn't have any sort of log profile, then you can film in a semi-log profile, like for example in DJI, D-Cine-like, which is like D-Log, which is DJI's log profile, but it's not quite as strong. So it doesn't have as great of a dynamic range or as much flexibility when it comes to color grading, but it is certainly better than the default standard or vivid mode. Now, if you'd like to learn more about how you can color grade log profiles, I have my video here, or I'll make sure to place it just below the like button. The other thing I would change is your frames per second. As standard, the likelihood you're shooting at either 24, 25 or 30 frames per second, depending on what region you're shooting in. What I recommend changing it to is 50 to 60 frames per second. What this will give you is it allows you to extend or shorten your clips depending on how long you want your clip to be. I often shoot at 50 frames per second, then interpret it into Premiere Pro at 25 frames per second, so my clips are twice as long. Firstly, this will give you more reach on how long your video is, but it also lets me film in slow motion, which is really nice, especially if I'm tracking subjects. So once you've changed your color profile into a log profile or semi-log profile, and you've changed your frames per second, let's talk about our first cinematic drone move, which is called the orbit shot. An orbit shot is a dynamic flying maneuver where the drone rotates around your subject. As the drone revolves around your subject, you can gradually reveal the scene to your audience. This adds a dynamic motion to your footage, which can be maximized further by tilting the drone as it performs this maneuver. To fly an orbit shot, fly the drone left while rotating clockwise, or fly the drone right by rotating anti-clockwise. This will allow you to orbit in the direction that you want. Depending on the size of the subject, you can also rotate at different speeds and distances, making sure to keep your subject in the center of the frame. This is definitely one of my go-to shots, as it's great for establishing a location as well as focusing your importance on the main subject. Now, I love using the orbit shot, and in fact, I actually use it in almost every single video I make. It is great for establishing your scene, but also focusing on your subject at the same time. So let's move on to shot number 2, which is called the tracking shot. The tracking shot is a great shot to use when you have a moving subject, and it's great for capturing your audience's attention. The basic move of the tracking shot is to fly alongside your subject while keeping the subject in frame. You can do this while flying forwards, sideways, or even backwards. Just keep an eye out for potential obstacles. You can also allow your subject to overtake the drone, or for the drone to overtake your subject for a different type of an effect. Depending on the speed of your subject, like for example a car, you may need to place the drone in sport mode to keep up with the pace of your subject. Now, I love using the tracking shot, especially when there's any sort of moving subject, either someone running or, for example, there is a car in frame. Now, if you are filming a car or anything like that, make sure to turn your drone into sport mode or the fastest mode possible, because you'll find cars do move a lot faster than you realize, and soon by the end of it, your car will be on the horizon and your drone will still be lapping. So make sure to turn your drone into sport mode to get the best out of this tracking shot. Anyway, let's move on to shot number 3, which is called the reveal shot. The drone reveal shot is a simple drone maneuver to create cinematic footage. The reveal shot allows you to slowly reveal your subject or the environment to your audience. This drone shot can be used to add suspense or simply to introduce a scene, and it creates an interesting perspective for your footage. To create this shot, simply fly upwards or fly forwards, slowly rotating your camera upwards. In doing so, slowly revealing the scene or your subject. You can do this slowly or quickly depending on the type of effect that you are after. I often use this shot to establish my videos, and it's a great way to reveal your main subject or the environment that you are filming in. Now, I use the reveal shot in almost every single video, and it is great as an establishing shot to your video. I often start with a drone shot and starting with the reveal shot. And what's nice, there's so many ways that you can do this. You can have the drone basically have it blocked behind a subject and then reveal the subject moving upwards, or my favorite is having the drone flying forwards and rotating your camera from 90 degrees all the way up, revealing the kind of expanse of environment, and that's really, really nice. Anyway, let's move on to shot number 4, which is called the overhead shot. An overhead shot is an exciting way to immerse your audience in your footage. This type of shot can be used to frame your subject inside a larger shot, giving your audience a better sense of scale of your environment. Now, you can experiment with speed and movement by incorporating slow pans or even tracking to add a sense of a dynamic effect to your shot. To create an overhead shot, simply fly forwards or sideways, you can even fly backwards, with the main camera facing 90 degrees downwards. Then fly at a constant speed, taking into consideration wind speed and direction. This is a great shot if you're following a subject that occasionally gets blocked, like for example, flying above a forest with the subject walking along the forest floor, or you can use it at sunrise or sunset by incorporating the long shadows to really show the sense of scale of your environment. Now, the overhead shot is a really nice one to show perspective and a scale of your environment. It doesn't work in every single situation, but if you've got tall buildings or tall trees, it really shows you that sense of scale, which is really nice, which is why I use it a lot in my videos. Another reason I also really like it is you can convert it into another shot, like a reveal shot. Having it basically facing directly downwards and then having the drone tilt its camera up to 90 degrees, you're turning it from an overhead shot into a reveal shot. And again, I love that to establish the environment you're in and to start your video. So let's talk about drone shot number 5 and the last one on my list, which is called the pedestal shot. So, to firstly create the pedestal shot, begin with your drone at a low altitude, close to the ground, focusing on your main subject or the environment, with your drone slowly ascending vertically while keeping your subject in the center of the frame. You may need to adjust the gimbal to maintain a smooth and steady upwards movement. This gradual ascend creates a visually appealing pedestal effect, making the subject appear larger and more dominant within the frame. Pay close attention to your subject's positioning and the background to achieve a balanced and aesthetically pleasing pedestal effect. You can also try this shot in reverse, starting at a high altitude and then slowly reducing in height. This is a nice way to finish your videos as it draws attention away from your environment while still keeping your focus on the main subject. Brilliant, and there we go guys. There are my top 5 cinematic drone moves to really make your videos stand out. Also, make sure to change those 2 settings in your drone, making sure firstly you change your color space from the standard profile to either D-Log or D-Cine-like, as well as change to your relevant frames per second. If you do want to film a little bit of slow motion, then filming in 50 or 60 frames per second will really help you firstly extend your video and extend the clip that you want, but also allow you to film in slow motion, which is really nice, especially for a drone cinematic video. Again guys, if you want to like, comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel, it really does help me out. I've been James for Video Fever, and I'll catch you guys next time.